All right, y'all, I got a whole bunch of big breaking news here for you. So first, let me start with Zoran Mamdani. As you all know, his win in New York has absolutely broken the brains of the people on the right. But he's also pissed off a bunch of old guard establishment Democrats as well. So first, let me point out, we have a Republican congressman, Representative Andy Ogles. And after Zoran won, he came out and said the following: Zoran Little Mohammed Mamdani is an anti-Semitic socialist communist who will destroy the great city of New York. He needs to be deported, which is why I am calling for him to be subject to denaturalization proceedings. So, as you saw with Charlie Kirk, as you saw with Laura Loomer, when they compared Zoran to Al-Qaeda, this is full mask-off, racist, Islamophobic, bigot. It's like we hopped in a time machine and went right back to the height of the war on terror in 2004, and anybody who has brown skin is immediately viewed as a threat to the country and a potential terrorist. I mean, in some ways, it's even worse than that, to be honest, because this is like, here you have an American citizen who just won the New York City Democratic primary for mayor, and they want to deport him. They want to deport him. So this is, in all seriousness, a new low. And I also hate that now in this era of Trump, everybody on the right just tries to copy Trump and sound like Trump. That's why he called him Little Muhammad. But their goal is also to be as loathsome and as extreme as Trump. I mean, the Republican Party has become like a 4chan message board where everybody's trying to out-edgy the other person and everybody's trying to out-shitpost the other person, and they're trying to be more bigoted and more extreme and more insane, and it's just a fucking race to the bottom. Where now we have just the world's most open bigotry and acceptable bigotry in society. The fact that he felt like he could say this out loud says a lot about how far we've fallen in the era of Trump and Trumpism. So that was absolutely grotesque. But as I said, you also have some old guard Democratic establishment types who've lost their fucking minds. So Kirsten Gillibrand, who's the Democratic senator from the state of New York, she went on the Brian Lehrer show, and she told him that she's not sure that Zoran isn't a jihadist. I mean, that is, like, again, she's going as low as Charlie Kirk and Laura Loomer there. But why? Why would you think he's a jihadist? Why? I mean, that's just because he's Muslim? I guess because he's Muslim. And she brings up this thing about globalize the intifada, which, by the way, he didn't say. But when somebody said that, he was saying, look, that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And to some people, it just means resist the occupation, right? Like, that's what it means. But no, they're trying to spin it like he supports Hamas, like he supports Al-Qaeda, like he's a danger to all Jews. And it's kind of ironic because at the same time that she's playing identity politics when it comes to anti-Semitism, she's the one actually doing the horrifically bigoted identity politics, because the fact that this guy is Muslim means she shut her brain off and she goes terrorist, Al-Qaeda, potential jihadist. So just super disgusting. In all seriousness, hearing this, not only should she apologize, she should honestly resign. Like, this is really fucking low. We also have some other Democratic establishment types saying similarly stupid things. So Tara Palmieri on her podcast was talking to somebody, and they were going through Zoran's policies, and they brought up how he wants universal child care, for example. And then they get caught on the idea of state-run grocery stores or city-run grocery stores. They get caught on that. And they start saying, that reminds me of like what they have in Havana, Cuba. And somebody goes, actually, that's like North Korea. That's like North Korean style stuff. So they're trying to like mock the idea that we can have a city-run grocery store where, you know, prices are lower and it helps people out to not get price gouged, right? They're mocking that idea, and they go, this is an un-American idea. Meanwhile, we literally have city-run grocery stores in Kansas, and we have state-run liquor stores in 17 states. So they're doing this like red baiting, red scare, McCarthyist, anti-communist garbage, trying to fearmonger over Zoran. Meanwhile, they don't have the first fucking clue what they're talking about. Like, these things are practical ideas that have existed and do exist, and in many instances are wildly successful. So the Zoran meltdown continues. It honestly does remind me a lot of the Obama era. how Obama's very existence baited the right into overreaching and looking as insane as they are, which is why you got all the birther conspiracies. He's a Kenyan Marxist Muslim, and you had all this garbage going through the country. And most people in the country saw the way the right was acting in regards to Obama, and they went, ugh, I don't like that. And that's one of the reasons why he had a consistently high approval rating, both in office and then after office. And Zoran baits the right, and also some establishment Democrats, to go real mask off and look as loathsome as they are. All right, so let me give you some more here. On the economic front, we got some horrible news. So core inflation has spiked to 2.7% in May. That's worse than expected. Income has fallen 0.4%. The GDP shrunk 0.5% in the first quarter, and consumer spending dropped 0.1%. So remember when we were doing all those economic segments because of Trump's horrible ideas, including his shitty fucking tariffs and, breaking up with all of our closest allies? We were warning you, like, this is going to have some serious consequences. There are going to be some serious downsides to what he's doing here, and we're beginning to see it. We're beginning to see the slowdown in the economy, and it's honestly only going to get worse. To give you further evidence of that, the Las Vegas Strip Resort reported a 22% year-over-year decline in revenue and a 75% dip in earnings during the first quarter of this year. So one of the main indicators of a looming recession is stuff like this. When it comes to hospitality, when it comes to taking trips, stuff like that really takes a hit, and we're beginning to see that now. We also have the dollar plummeted after rumors that Trump may announce a MAGA-friendly Federal Reserve chair. So Jerome Powell has been fighting back against Trump and rejecting Trump's pressure when Trump tries to get him to lower interest rates. It looks like, he kind of wants to dump Jerome Powell, and he wants to bring in a MAGA-friendly Fed chair. But the thing is, it's illegal for him to fire him. That doesn't mean he won't try it. That doesn't mean he won't get away with it, as he gets away with most of the bullshit that he does. But that would be a catastrophe, because if you have a MAGA Fed chair and they lower interest rates, boom, inflation would skyrocket even more. So that would also be a nightmare. All right, now let me give you the horrific news when it comes to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is allowing Trump's plan to limit birthright citizenship to move forward for now. The justices didn't rule on the policy itself, but lifted nationwide blocks, letting it take effect in states that didn't sue to stop it. So this is kind of a huge deal, because basically what the Supreme Court is saying here is lower court injunctions have no power. They're saying if Trump decides I'm going to do an executive order for something that is wildly illegal and unconstitutional, what they're saying is that can stand and he can do it unless and until it gets to us. And so that could be a year, that could be 2 years. It takes a long time to go all the way up to the Supreme Court. So basically in the interim, for a year or two, it's like, go ahead, be a dictator. Do whatever you want through executive order. It doesn't matter how wildly illegal or unconstitutional it is. You can try it. So, the downside is Trump is going to use this for all sorts of horrible stuff. The potential upside in the long run is under a Democratic administration, if they wanted to do something through executive order that would actually help people and would actually be good, the same thing would apply, where for a year or two, a lower court can't block it, right? So some right-wing court in Texas couldn't block it, like student loan relief, for example, and it would have to go all the way to the Supreme Court for them to make a decision eventually, which again takes time. So, but when it comes to Trump, it's horrible. In fact, Trump is already out there saying that the Supreme Court just paved the way for him to end birthright citizenship, end sanctuary city funding, suspend refugee resettlement, freeze unnecessary funding, which is his way of saying, now the Supreme Court greenlit me twisting the arms of blue states and saying, if you don't do whatever I want you to do, I'm just going to cut off all your federal funds and you're cooked. So this real disaster. It's basically like a loophole for a dictatorship that the Supreme Court just gave Trump. Now, that wasn't the end of their horror show decisions. We also have the Supreme Court upholding a Texas law that requires porn sites to verify their visitors are 18 years old or older. Here's the problem with that. I know that sounds kind of reasonable at face value, but the problem with that is, in practice, what that means is, if you're an adult and you want to jack off, you got to submit your driver's license to the government. I don't know about you, but I don't know anybody who wants a database where the government keeps every fucking kink that they're into, right? You want to talk about big government. It literally doesn't get any bigger than that. Getting directly involved in your sex life and knowing what you whack off to. Like, what are we talking about here? And they upheld it. Horrible, horrible decision. A bunch of red states have already done stuff like this. Now there's going to be more of it. So just a real anti-freedom, anti-liberty type thing here. Absolutely pathetic and disgusting. We also have the Supreme Court ruling that parents can pull their children from public school lessons that are about the LGBTQ community. So, if you want to keep your kid in a hermetically sealed, fundamentalist Christian right-wing bubble, the Supreme Court says you have a right to do that, and it doesn't matter how ignorant they are, it doesn't matter how stupid they are, it doesn't matter how much you make them hate minorities and other people, they're all for it. Then we also have this. This is colossal news. Gavin Newsom just decided he's going to sue Fox News for $787 million in a defamation case over the whole Trump phone call fiasco, where Trump said he talked to Gavin Newsom on this day, and Gavin Newsom had the receipts and said, no, you fucking didn't. You didn't talk to me. That's a total lie. And Fox News ran with that lie and was spreading misinformation and disinformation and defaming Gavin Newsom. And let's call this what it is. This is Gavin Newsom saying, I'm sick of the right playing by different rules. I'm sick of Donald Trump. What's he waging? 7 or 8 different lawsuits against media organizations? This is Gavin Newsom going, well, if you're going to do that, I can do that too. Two can play at that game. And here I have a case where you're caught dead to rights, lying and defaming me. So now, how you like that? Two can play at this game now. So, and of course, the other thing is, where did he get the $787 million number from? He got it from the lawsuit of, I think it was Dominion suing Fox News. Dominion was the voting machine company that Fox News repeatedly told egregious lies about when they were spreading the lies about the 2020 election being stolen. And so, remember, Fox settled out of court, but they effectively lost that case because they paid out $787 million. We know that they knew they were lying. We know that they knew the election wasn't stolen, but they said the shit anyway. We have texts of Tucker Carlson saying, I hate Trump with a burning passion. Nothing positive has come out of the Trump era. Of course, the election wasn't stolen. And so people don't talk about that case enough because it just proved that Fox News is objectively, empirically, a fake news outlet. That's what that lawsuit proved. And so now here's Gavin Newsom looking at all of Trump's 7, 8, 9 different lawsuits against the media. And he goes, look, I'm no longer going to lay on the ground in a chalk outline of myself and let the right walk all over us. If you want to play this game, well, fuck you. I can play this game too. You assholes lied about me, and now I'm taking you to court. So Gavin Newsom fighting back. All right, then I got to give you this, man. This is really just absolutely horrific. So I told you guys early on that this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which literally was set up overnight out of nowhere, I warned you. And there was some reporting to indicate this at the time, too. This is a CIA, Mossad, IDF op. This is not real. This is not an actual humanitarian organization. This is the CIA and Mossad and the IDF put up this front group to pretend like they're going to do humanitarian aid so they can complete the genocide and ethnic cleansing of Palestinians in Gaza. Well, now there's further validation of that idea. Haaretz had a big article that just came out. It's titled, quote, "It's a killing field. IDF soldiers ordered to shoot deliberately at unarmed Gazans waiting for humanitarian aid." So this is what I told you. I told you they'd set up these sites. They tell Palestinians, hey, come over here, get some food, get some medicine or whatever. They would travel from all over Gaza and go to this place. And then when they would be there, they put them all in like this caged area like they were fucking animals. And oftentimes they wouldn't have nearly enough food for people who ended up getting food, but others would get shot and killed. They would get murdered. And they do this all the time. Hey, here's a new place you come. Hey, here's another place you come. And when people would show up, they would murder them. They would kill them. We're witnessing Holocaust-level atrocities in real time. And in this article, it's crystal clear because they even talk to IDF soldiers who are blowing the whistle and telling the truth. So since they've set up these Gaza Humanitarian Foundation sites, 549 Palestinians have been killed and over 4,000 wounded because they're murdering them on purpose. That's what they're doing. IDF officers say the killings aren't isolated mistakes, but part of a pattern, and they call it Operation Salted Fish, which is basically the Israeli version of the game Red Light, Green Light. So they say, quote, "We shoot, they run, we shoot again," one soldier said, quote, "This is our communication." And they go on. You got a bunch of people blowing the whistle about this, saying like, no, literally the point is to murder them, and then the ones you don't murder, you round them up, and you ethnically cleanse them, and, Trump and Netanyahu are trying to make a deal to send these people to Libya or send these people to Jordan or send these people to Egypt. So that's what's going on. Again, absolute verification that the GHF is a total front for the IDF and Mossad and the CIA, and the purpose is to complete the genocide and ethnic cleansing of Gaza. Guys, this is earth-shattering. This is groundbreaking. The takeaway from this is, not only do you need to lock up the war criminal Netanyahu and Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, but you also got to go after the people who are running this fake humanitarian organization. Because, by the way, if they actually cared about doing humanitarian things for the people of Gaza, they wouldn't have banned the United Nations and all the other actual humanitarian groups from doing their job in Gaza. So just absolutely disgusting. It's a really incredible, eye-opening article. I highly recommend you read the whole thing. Again, the title is, "It's a Killing Field. IDF Soldiers Ordered to Shoot Deliberately at Unarmed Gazans Waiting for Humanitarian Aid." I should also point out that there are, according to reporters on the ground in Gaza, they have evidence that whatever flour is being given out, it's mixed in with oxycodone, crushed up oxycodone. And the goal of the IDF doing this is to try to make the Palestinians more passive, more submissive, make them basically strung out, can't move much. And then again, that helps them either to just kill them or round them up and ship them somewhere else out of Gaza. So that's a huge deal. They're saying that a lot of the flour is laced with oxycodone, which is an attempt to further pacify the Palestinians and murder them, makes it easier to transport them, etc. So really, really horrible stuff. I should also point out that we just learned that the only entirely Christian village in the West Bank, there was just a pogrom there. Extremist Israeli settlers did a pogrom there, burned a whole bunch of shit down, set houses on fire, set vehicles on fire. And this is what we're witnessing now, bro. It's not even just in Gaza anymore. As you all know, Israel's also bombing Lebanon. They're bombing Syria and taking large swaths of Syria. They, of course, bombed Yemen. They were just bombing Iran, and they want to continue bombing Iran. And now they've also moved on the West Bank. There's also a bunch of chatter about another fake peace deal that's being talked about at the moment, where Israel and the U.S. are saying they want Egypt and the UAE to take control of Gaza. They want other countries to absorb Palestinians from Gaza, which is what we just discussed. They want to send them to Libya, send them to Egypt, send them to Jordan. And under this new fake deal, the U.S. would recognize partial Israeli sovereignty in the West Bank, which is what I told you about Miriam Adelson's money and the quid pro quo when she gave that money to Donald Trump. Miriam Adelson's point was, I'll give you $100 million. You need to let Israel illegally annex the West Bank. And now, in this new fake peace agreement, they're coming out and saying that Israel is going to partially take over the West Bank and declare sovereignty over it. And then also, by the way, under this deal, Trump reportedly aims to secure normalization deals with Syria, now run by a former leader of Al-Qaeda, Saudi Arabia, and other Arab or Muslim states. So, yet again, this is another total ruse. It's another way of just completely and utterly screwing over the Palestinians, completing the genocide, completing the ethnic cleansing. Now, also trying to take over the West Bank. They also now are in talks to try to, the new Al-Qaeda leader of Syria is willing to give away large swaths of Syrian land to Israel to help them create their Greater Israel project. So just wall-to-wall horrible stuff. I also wanted to bring up, I'm sure you guys have seen this by now, but at the NATO summit, you had the head of NATO at one point weirdly called Donald Trump daddy. And since that happened, the right has been popping their tiny little boners and nutting in their pants. And they've been falling all over themselves to call Trump daddy. The White House tweeted a video of Trump showing up to the NATO event, playing the Usher song Daddy's Home. And then now you have the Trump War Room selling daddy merchandise with pictures of Trump. I mean, Tim Wall said it best. These guys are fucking weird, bro. This is just fucking weird what we're talking about here. And Freud, by the way, the most vindicated man on earth. I often call MAGA a fascist death cult. Apparently, it's a gay death cult. It's a gay fascist death cult because they all have this weird homoerotic thing going on with their daddy in a Freudian sense with Trump. It is so fucking bizarre. It's very, very strange to me. Meanwhile, of course, the irony of it all is there ain't a woman in sight who wants to fuck Trump. Like, in my experience, all the women I know are like repulsed by the guy. But you got like the weirdest, most freakish incels in the country all have this weird homoerotic Freudian thing with him, to the point where now they're talking about calling him daddy and saying daddy's home. It's very, very bizarre. Also on immigration, this is a huge deal. So the anti-ICE protests are having a major effect on public opinion. Trump is now 16 points underwater on immigration. He used to be way above water. It was his best issue, honestly. Now he's 16 points underwater. ICE themselves, their actions are 17 points underwater, 32 points negative with independents. And now 64% of voters say they prefer providing most immigrants with a path to legal status instead of deportation. So because of how much they've overreached, how insane they've gotten, how many lives they destroyed, how much they're clearly not going after just undocumented criminals, now the public is flipped and they're like, this goes way too far and we want to be way more kind to immigrants, way more kind to immigrants. At the same time, I should point out, ICE has now arrested 130 Iranian nationals across the U.S. in the last 7 days. And they say this is for security concerns. No, the fuck it's not. The same fucking group, the ICE Gestapo, that are rounding up 2-year-old, 4-year-old, and 6-year-old American citizens and shipping them out of the country. One of them had fucking cancer. The same people, they're, rounding up people with mom and dad tattoos and sending them to a concentration camp. They don't know who the fuck they're getting. When they get an Iranian, they don't know who the fuck they're getting. So let's be clear about that. So I feel horrible for Iranians who are now in this country, because I got to be honest with you, I don't think any of these people are safe, because this regime doesn't care. They'll just see that you are Iranian and say, you're a threat, we're going to try to kick you out. Really horrible stuff. Even if you're legal, by the way, even if you're legal, you're not fully in the clear. And then just a few more things here. So the Trump administration moved to terminate temporary protected status for 500,000 Haitians, the legal immigrants. So remember when Trump on the campaign, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. That's what they're doing. That was about legal immigrants, legal Haitian immigrants. Well, now he's stripping their protected status in the same way they did it for Nicaraguans, in the same way they did it for Cubans and some others. Now he's stripping their legal status too. So it was never about illegal immigrants who are criminals. Never. Now they've gone after legal immigrants who are not criminals. So really the goal at its core is a white nationalist project. And then finally, I'll leave you with this. Tom Homan, the border czar, says he's received so much hate for his positions on immigration that he is unable to live safely with his family. You poor thing, Tom. You poor thing. Now imagine what it's like to be one of the people that you're trying to deport. Ruining their lives, destroying their families over fucking nothing. Because like we said the other day, the number came out, 93% of these people are not violent criminals. 93%. So there you have it, guys. There are all your updates. I swear to God, it's like I get off air, and the second I'm off air, I already have a whole new show that I could do. But I wanted to give you some updates, and I'll talk to you all soon. Peace.